Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradari. Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana.
Jana
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Yamuna Tira Vanachari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari.
Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we'll be studying Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 25.
Today we'll be studying text number 14. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So is it up? Okay, almost. Word for word. Tam imam te pravakshyami yam avocham pura anaghe rishinam srotu kamanam yogam sarvanga naipunam tam imam te pravakshyami yam avocham puranhage rishinam shrotu kamanam yogam sarvanga naipunam tam imam te pravakshyami yam avocham puranhake rishinam shrotu kamanam yogam sarvanga naipunam tam imam te pravakshyami yam avocham puranhage rishinam shrotu kamanam yogam sarvanga naipunam
Okay, I'm sorry, Gurudev. We can hear you now. Tamimam te pravakshyami
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Yamavocham puranage
Yamavocham puranage
Vishinam shrutukamana
Krishinam shotukamanam
Yogam sarvanga punam
Yogam sarvanga punam
Imam te pravakshyami
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Yam avocham puranage
Yang avocham puranage
Shrotu kamanam
Rishinam shotu kamanam
Yogam sarvanganai punam
Yogam sarvanganai punam
Magadhari started.
Imam te pravakshyami
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Yamavocham puranage
Yamavocham puranage
Rishinam shrutukamanam
Vishinam shotukamana
Yogam sarvanga naipunam
Yogam saivanga naipunam
Tamimam te pravakshami
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Yamavocham puranage
Yamavocham puranage
Ashinam shotukamanam
Vishinam shotukamana
Yogam sarvanga naipunam
Yogam saivanga naipunam
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Yamavocham puranage
Yamavocham puranage
Rashinam shrotukamanam
Vishinam shotukamana
Yogam sarvanga naipunam
Yogam sarvanga naipunam
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Yam avocham puranganai
Yamavocham puranage
Rishinam shrotukamanam
Vishinam shotukamana
Yogam sarvanganai punam
Yogam
sarvanganai punam
Tam imam te pravakshyami
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Yamavocham puranage
Yamavocham puranage
Rishinam shrotukamanam
Vishinam shotukamana
Yogam sarvanga punam
Yogam sarvanga naipunam Mother Krishna
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Yamavocham puranage
Yamavocham puranage
Rishinam shrotukamanam
Vishinam shotukamana
Yogam sarvanganai punam
Yogam Mother Krishna
Tamimam te pravakshyami
Tamimam te pravakshami
Yamavocham puranage
Yamavocham puranake
Rishinam shrotukamanam
Krishna shotukamana
Yogam sarvanganaipunam
Yogam sarvanganai punam. I think that's everyone. Tamimam
Te to you. Pravakshami. I shall explain. Yam, which. Avocham, I explained. Pura, formerly. Anage, O pious mother. Rishinam, to the sages. Shrotu kamanam, eager to hear. Yogam, yoga system. Sarva anga, in all respects. Naipunam, serviceable and practical. Translation. O most pious mother, I shall now explain unto you the ancient yoga system which I explained formerly to the great sages. It is serviceable and practical in every way. Purport. The Lord does not manufacture a new system of yoga. Sometimes it is claimed that someone has become an incarnation of God and is expounding a new theological aspect of the absolute truth. But here we find that although Kapila Muni is the Lord himself and is capable of manufacturing a new doctrine for his mother, he nevertheless says, I shall just explain the ancient system, which I once explained to the great sages, because they were also anxious to hear about it. When we have a super excellent process already present in Vedic scriptures, there is no need to concoct a new system to mislead the innocent public. At present, it has become a fashion to reject the standard system and present something bogus in the name of a newly invented process of yoga. Hare Krishna. So, we understand from the Bhagavad Gita that Lord Krishna is giving the same system of yoga to Arjuna. Evam parampara praptam imam rajarsheo vidu sakaleneha mahata yogo nashta parantapa. That this most ancient system of yoga is today imparted by me to you because it was previously understood by the great sages, and they understood it in the parampara system. And I will speak it to you because there has been a break in the line of understanding. And he also mentions to Arjuna that because Arjuna is non-envious and he is a devotee, or he's a friend. And the same thing is happening here now with Devahuti and Kapila Muni, that Kapila Deva is going to explain that same system which he has explained previously, and because Devahuti is actually eager to understand it. And she expressed that explicitly. She requested Kapila Muni to enlighten her and to relieve her from ignorance. And this is very nice because this is actually the turning point for a aspiring disciple to actually say, please remove my ignorance, and glorification is given to the spiritual master as is rightly, which is just and correct. it's stated that the spiritual master, Sakshad Dharitvena Samasta Shastrar Utaktata, that he is as good as Hare. He's as good as Hare. And it's actually described in the 11th canto of Bhagavatam that Lord Krishna tells Uddhava that actually the spiritual master is my very self. And we understand that the Lord delivers the disciple through the spiritual master, which means he's a type of a mercy incarnation of the spiritual of the Supreme Lord. And here we can understand that the spiritual master becomes a spiritual master not by inventing anything new. Prabhupada would use this word manufacture. So manufacturing is quite a popular activity of Kali Yuga, where persons are interested in manufacturing so many nuts and bolts and gears and gizmos and technologies which are actually completely destroying the earth in some other place, and then all of them become obsolete within a few years and they start polluting the environment. So it's simply actually a troublesome system, actually, all this manufacturing. And Prabhupada would say, can you eat your nuts and bolts? Will you be able to eat nuts and bolts? And Prabhupada would see, especially in India, so many people, it had already happened in USA, but in India, Prabhupada would speak strongly against it because there was a chance that maybe he could revert this mad rush towards so-called advancement of human civilization. And actually, human civilization is advanced when persons are actually becoming of exquisite character, not when we can manufacture some gizmos and some tools. And practically speaking now, there's so many artificial necessities of life that we have and that we work with. Of course, it's all the Lord's energy. And actually, this is the peace formula, is if we understand that everything is Krishna's property, everything, he is the proprietor of everything, and I'm simply borrowing it for a moment so that I can give it back to him. I can engage it in his service. So the karmis, the materialists, they're not going to stop making gadgets and gizmos. And the devotees can use them under the guidance of the spiritual master, as long as it's actually favorable for their devotional service, and especially if it's favorable for the spreading of the Sankirtan movement. And the devotees in our line, they, starting with, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu inaugurated the Transcendental Book Distribution Revolution by empowering the 6 Goswamis to write transcendental literatures, and of course that was developed by personalities like Srinivas Thakur, Narottam Das Thakur, and Shyamananda Prabhu. And they started to spread the transcendental literatures of the Goswamis. And then from there it continued, and Narottam Das Thakur, he went on to write so many things, and Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, he wrote his commentaries, and then Bhaktivinoda Thakur really made a big stand, and Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada followed in his footsteps, and he made statements by his practical action that the printing press was the Brihat Mridanga, and Srila Prabhupada is taking that up as well, and he's asking all of us to please help him in this work. And so we can understand that the technological advancements of human society can be dovetailed in the Lord's service, and if they are not dovetailed in the Lord's service, then they must be rejected. Right? That if something is not engaged in the Lord's service, then it must be rejected. And there's a tendency, for us in our conditioned state to, not to engage things in the Lord's service, and then we have to be careful not to over-collect. So this whole system of yoga, which Lord Kapila Dev will explain to Devahuti, is not new. It's the same old system. And this is also in the prayers that Srila Prabhupada offered to his spiritual master on his Vyasa Puja day so many years ago. And he states here that the spiritual master, specifically Bhaktisiddhanta Prabhupada, a message of service thou hast brought, a healthful life as Chaitanya wrought. Unknown to all, it's full of grace. That's your gift, your divine grace. This is a brushstroke explanation of how Krishna consciousness, the yoga system of Krishna consciousness, it's completely practical. It means your life is going to be better in every single way. Right? It's serviceable, which means that it actually works for you. Right? It's not some dry philosophical, process by which you don't get anything actually, and you end up just doing sense gratification just like everyone else. What is the good of a philosophy which actually leads you back to sense gratification just like the karmis, just like you were before? So this is what's happening to the so-called Vedantists and, the persons who are actually atheists. What happens to them? They may have some flowery language, but they end up just doing sense gratification just like everyone else. So they're just a type of a glorified karmi. And they think that they're very nice because they have some flowery words and rituals and so on and so forth. But actually, they're just like everyone else. Now, where was the other one that I wanted to show here? The line of service as drawn by you is pleasing and healthy, like morning dew. The oldest of all, but in new dress, miracle done, your divine grace. Right? It's the same system. It's the oldest system that there is. It's the essence of all knowledge. Right? It's said in the Sri Chaitanya, the Shikshastaka prayers, Chaitodar Paramarjanam Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam Shreya Kairava Chandrika Vitaranam Vidyavadhu Jivanam Anandam Burivardhanam Pratiparam Paramrat Vratasvadanam Sarvatma Snaparam Param Vijayate Shri Krishna Sankirtanam. It's actually the life of transcendental knowledge. Vidya Vidhu Jivanam. Right? Jivanam. It's actually the life of knowledge. This is why we say, like for Prabhupada, we say, that what's that line? It says Lokanath, right? Lokera Jivana. He is actually the life of the entire universe. Like the spiritual master, so Narottam Das Thakur is praying to Lokanath Goswami. That's why we say like that. Right. It says, had you not come who had told the message of Krishna forceful and bold. That's your right. You have the mace. Save me a fallen, your divine grace. So we're very, very fortunate that we have this amazing system of bhakti yoga, which Rochandev Prabhu was mentioning that we forget this is actually the highest yoga. It's not less than any other yoga. And all the other yogas are included in this. Right? And the thing is, though, that if we're after some material benefits, right? If we're after some material benefits in our yoga practice, then it's not pure yoga, right? And that means that it's not pure bhakti, which means that, we'll have to move through those material desires somehow or other. We'll have to pass through that anartha nivritti. And, sometimes the devotees, they may lose faith in the process of bhakti yoga because we're not actually practicing it properly. And I'm thinking, hey, isn't it supposed to be making everything perfect and amazing for me? Well, it actually is, to the extent that we're actually applying it. Amazingly enough, though, it doesn't happen instantaneously. It's a process. It's a gradual development, and one can know that it's working by hearing from the spiritual master. And I promise you, if we're practicing the basic system as given by Srila Prabhupada to rise early and bathe and come to the temple and perform Mangalarti and chant our rounds with attention and striving to become free from offenses, and we are hearing the Bhagavatam with rapt attention, Prabhupada would say that we should be able to hear a pin drop, when we're hearing the Bhagavatam. And we're hearing with rapt attention with the idea that let me take this serviceable and practical yoga system and apply it in my life right now today. Let me ask some sincere questions to myself, to the Lord within my heart, right? To the spiritual master, to the speaker of Bhagavatam, so that I can actually make one step closer to the Lord's pure devotional service, right? And if we do that, then the spiritual master and the devotees, they'll definitely tell us, no, it's definitely working, Prabhu. Don't worry, it's definitely working. And of course, we want to hear from people who have faith. If we hear from a karmi and he says, no, what's the point of all this yoga, bhakti, and all this stuff, Kapila and Devahuti and Bhagavatam and Krishna and all this, who needs it? Then what's going to happen to us? We're going to say, well, I kind of thought it wasn't working, right? So this is the idea, is that if we actually associate with karmis and we actually take their advice, means there's this concept that I was speaking about yesterday, that if we want to take the system of bhakti, as Kapila Deva is telling to Devahuti, very nicely and apply it in our life, that means vijnanam, right? Vijnana. So Prabhupada describes that theory. There's theory, which is jnana. And in the 7th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna actually talks about jnana and vijnana. And he actually, in the first few chapters of the 7th chapter, Prabhupada says actually the first verse of the 7th chapter is the essence of the Krishna consciousness movement, right? And then in the second verse, right, this is amazing. He says, Jnanam teham savijnanam idam vakshyam yashe shataha yaj gyatva nehabhuyo nyaj gyatvayam avashishyate. Jnanam, phenomenal knowledge. Te, unto you. Aham, I. Sa, with. Vijnanam, nominal knowledge. Idam, this. Vakshyami, shall explain. Asheshataha, in full. Yat, which. Gyatva, knowing. Na, not. Iha, in this world. Bhuyaha, further. Anyat, anything more. Gyatvayam, knowable, avashishyate, remains to be known. I shall now declare unto you in full this knowledge, both phenomenal and nominal, by knowing which there shall remain nothing further to be known. And actually, this is exactly what will be spoken to Devahuti. What is that? That's the science of Bhakti Yoga. Right? And when you understand Bhakti Yoga, then you understand all the philosophy, all the theory, right? And you'll know the practical. And what is that practical? If you are the soul, if you are Brahman, right? Some people, they understand. I am Brahman, everything is Brahman. If you are Brahman, well, what are the activities of Brahman? That means Bhakti Yoga. And that's why chanting Hare Krishna is actually the essence of all knowledge, because it means that we're in harmony with our constitutional position. You know? If we're actually serving the Lord with love and devotion, that's the essence of all knowledge. And it's practical. It means it's being executed on the basis of the knowledge. That's why we say Sambandha Gyan. I have this Sambandha Gyan, and then I have my Abhideya. It means that I actually live that practice by serving Krishna. We end up, you know, and we try, we have to get to the point where we're serving Krishna. Vyavasayatmika buddhir. We have to have this fixedness on the order of the spiritual master. We have to have this fixedness on devotional service, on the science. And we have to actually pray to Krishna that I can never stop serving you. Please make it so that I never forget your service. And we pray to our mind also. We pray to our mind. Bhajahure mana Shri Nandanandana Abhaya Charanara Vindare. We have to actually pray to the mind to engage in the process of devotional service, which is in 9 forms. And that's Vijnanam. So the idea is that, I'll read this purport to the 7.2. Complete knowledge includes knowledge of the phenomenal world and the spirit behind it. The source of both of them is transcendental knowledge. The Lord wants to explain the above-mentioned system of knowledge because Arjuna is Krishna's confidential devotee and friend. In the beginning of the 4th chapter, this explanation was given by the Lord, and it is again confirmed here. Complete knowledge can be achieved only by the devotee of the Lord, directly from the Lord in disciplic succession. Therefore, one should be intelligent enough to know the source of all knowledge, who is the cause of all causes, and the only object for meditation in all types of yoga practices. When the cause of all causes becomes known, then everything knowable becomes known, and nothing remains unknown. The Vedas say, Yasmin vigyate sarvam eva vigyatam bhavanti. Okay, thank you very much. Hare Krishna. Would anybody like to add anything? Is anybody there online, Prabhu? Can you see them? No? You have any reflections? No? Mataji? Okay, so we'll go to the next verse. It says here, let us know online with the hand raised so you can participate. It says here, Cheta kalavyasya bandhaya muktaye chatmano matam guneshu shaktam saktam bandhaya ratam vapungsi muktaye. Chetaha, consciousness. Kalu, indeed. Asya, of him. Bandhaya, for bondage. Muktaye, for liberation. Cha, and. Atmanaha, of the living entity. Matam, is considered. Guneshu, in the 3 modes of nature. Saktam, attracted. Bandhaya, for conditional life. Ratam, attached. Va, or. Pumsi, in the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Muktaye, for liberation. The stage in which the consciousness of the living entity is attracted by the three modes of material nature is called conditional life. But when that same consciousness is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, one is situated in the consciousness of liberation. Purport. There is a distinction here between Krishna consciousness and Maya consciousness. Guneshu, or Maya consciousness, involves attachment to the three material modes of nature, under which one works sometimes in goodness and knowledge, sometimes in passion, and sometimes in ignorance. These different qualitative activities with the central attachment for material enjoyment are the cause of one's conditional life. When the same chitta or consciousness is transferred to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, or when one becomes Krishna conscious, he is on the path of liberation. Anybody there? Okay, so now we'll go to this first verse of chapter 7. It says, Shri Bhagavan Uvacha Maya Sakta Manapartha Yogam Yunjad Marashraya Asangshayam Samagram Ham Yatha Gyasyasi Tachrinu. Now hear, O son of Pritha, Arjuna, how by practicing yoga in full consciousness of me, with mind attached to me, you can know me in full, free from doubt. So this is actually the science of Bhagavad Gita, is to become attached to Krishna, to become attracted to Krishna. And actually, Rupa Goswami has actually stated that in the beginning, one simply has to arouse a little attraction for Krishna. Then all the rules and regulations can be accepted by that person. Of course, in this age of Kali Yuga, rules and regulations are very distasteful for the conditioned souls. So it's often one has to be very serious devotee, and then they can accept some rules and regulations. So that's kind of where we start with people, is that we ask them, come and get some attraction for Krishna, taste the Krishna prasadam, hear the holy name, get absorbed in the kirtan. And they become attracted to the supreme attractive person, Sri Krishna. He is actually Bhagavan. He has 6 opulences in full. These opulences are the attractive features of this material world. If somebody is attractive, they have, or if somebody has some wealth, they're attractive to some extent. If somebody has some beauty, they're attractive. Everybody wants to talk about a beautiful person, or a wealthy person, or a powerful person, a wise person, a renounced person, and famous person. So these things are the attractive features of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and he has these in full. Just as we are meant to actually become, we are meant to know Krishna in full. Asamshayam samagram mam, without any doubt, right? Krishna is full in all opulences, and when we actually know him, then we can become peaceful, which is actually the aim of every person on the whole planet and all the living entities. They just want to be peaceful, and there's no way to be peaceful by searching after the illusory pleasures of this world. Anta ime deha, that this antavanta, this pleasure and happiness, pleasure and distress is coming and going. And Lord Krishna advises in the Bhagavad Gita that we shouldn't chase after the temporary pleasures of this material world, which are due to contact with the sense objects. And nateshu ramate Buddha, the learned persons who are intelligent, they don't do that. But rather they decide to give Krishna pleasure. This is the difference between kama and prema. So thank you very much. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. All glories to the assembled devotees.